Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Joker from Contact Loss. Nathan Roberts is with me. There's Tweak on the desk, and we have stats that missing. Typhus is field reporting, so he'll be letting us know how our things are going, as it does change quite rapidly, as we've seen over the last couple of days. So, Nathan, have you got any findings of your own?
So, walking around the tables, there's from some of the more interesting rounds that we were looking at earlier. Scotland versus New Zealand, they seem to feel that Scotland is on the high end of a draw, but they might have a couple of results come in their way to make it a win.
Okay, that's interesting. I think
Yeah,
that when the round was beginning, we were under the impression that it's going to be a Scottish win.
yeah, we kind of felt it should be a Scottish win, but then again, New Zealand have shown throughout this event so far that they are able to take points off a lot of teams, because that would now put them on a loss, 2 wins, and 3 draws. So they've only lost one round, and that was to Australia in the first game. But for Scotland and I guess New Zealand's top 10 title projections, having another win for Scotland would put them in quite a good position to try and threaten for that place. Because that, I believe, would put them on. That would put them on 4 wins if they win this round. So actually, 4 wins out of 6, that's good. If they can get a 5th one, that's pretty much a guaranteed top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even squeak top 5. Seems unlikely though. Other rounds, we've got Sweden versus
France.
France felt it was a draw. Sweden think it's a high draw, but they might be able to sneak a win, which might be the return of Sweden. And interestingly, would put them in a place to have to play either... Well, they can't play Poland again, but it would be probably the winners or drawers of England versus USA. Although I've got a horrible feeling that USA is going to be... Well, we can get onto that actually. We'll get onto that later.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves too much.
Yes.
But if Sweden can pull this off, then I think it's quite surprised. They would be pushing much higher than we were giving them credit so far in the
more
tournament.
More than Typhus was giving them credit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really did put a good game into Germany yesterday, and now if they could beat France, they could be on a good run.
Yeah, 2 games that you would argue are actually upsets in favor of Sweden. So hopefully it would be a case of... sorry, I'm just getting results coming in. What we could see is, Sweden back to their original self, where actually they'd go into the last round on 5 wins and a loss, which would put them in a very good position to, if they win again...
That's a podium finish, right?
Yeah, that's almost guaranteed a podium.
Yeah, on 6 wins and a loss.
Yeah, 6 wins and a loss. The only way it wouldn't be is if you had, Poland on 1st place, USA in 2nd, and then maybe somebody could sneak on the same points, higher differential. But it's always an interesting one sometimes whether you get more differential points from getting 2 draws, because 2 draws here is the same points as a win. They're both 2 draws are worth 1, wins are worth 2. It's an interesting one whether a win and a loss gets you more points than 2 draws.
Because you might lose out narrowly, but your win could be substantial, so that would add up to a lot more points than 2 draws, actually.
Yeah, your 2 draws, if they're 85 and 85, your max is 170, but you could have a 74 loss and then technically 160 wins, so your threshold is higher.
Yeah, much higher.
But vice versa, you could get 15 points loss, and then an 85 win, it's 100 points. But yeah.
Yep.
So it's an interesting one. Other than that, I guess the 2 main top tables, Poland looks to be cruising into a win against Spain. Their matchups have gone their way, and the robot that is Skark has managed to Table of Gene Stealer Cult Army with Imperial Guard, and I don't know if he's 20-0'd it. Yeah, he did.
He did, yeah. It was
just
100 to 37. So,
which, don't forget, you get 10 points for painting, so that Gene Stealer Cult Army scored 27 points. So
that is
I did
very
hear about
little.
a few moments where a Scout Sentinel went full Hobbit mode and went on an adventure and destroyed 5 blips. He just went, your deployment zone looks like a fun adventure, so let's go take those blips down.
It's the only result from USA we know, USA England, is the one match for Chaos Space Marines versus Gene Stealer Cult, which was Anthony Vanella versus Mike Porter, which ended up in a 10-10 draw.
Yeah.
Mission, like we talked about earlier, is pretty drawish, but kind of anticipated that more Gene Stealer Cult favored, at least initially, correct?
Yeah, I believe what happened in that game was a couple of unfortunate moments where Mike Porter failed a 4+ rerollable charge for Aberrants and then failed a 5+ rerollable charge to contest 2 objectives. So those go off. Obviously, maybe you don't get both, but those go off. It's more like a 13.
Then the feeling that we're getting kind of from coaches that is like maybe a low, like England squeaking into a draw or maybe a US win. We're kind of like in between those two right now. We'll get more information as we go. I'm going to pull up some projections that we're getting from our field reporter, Zaviati. Zaviati. There we go. He's going to hear that and he's going to be either real upset or real amused by it. I don't know which yet.
I feel like your attempts at saying that get actually worse each time you do it.
It's Zaviwa, right?
Yeah.
Zaviwadi, right?
Zaviwa?
Daddy? I don't know.
Zaviwa Daddy.
Yeah, Zaviwa.
Oh,
we're taking
okay.
the D off. We're just making
Zaviwadi.
Zaviwadi. Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're calling him. Okay.
You explain the joke way too much.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna go back in here because Typhus keeps giving me updates, and they're just streaming on by. Poland's comfortable. Canada's expecting a draw, even with Skari scoring 19 to 20 on that.
That's interesting.
A fair number of other Canadian players had real rough swings on their matchups, so even the 19 to 20 from Skari is not enough to swing it into a win. Germany is also agreeing with that assessment, saying that they're expecting a draw with
It's a disappointing result for Germany, that. I
Yes.
think if they lose 2 rounds in a draw, both any chance of a podium is gone. And
Especially
unless they don't
if
win
you,
the last game, they might not get top 10.
especially if you factor in that when the round was starting, Canada was looking very disappointed in the pairings. They said it was definitely not well for them. But yeah, Germany did start this round in 12th place, so a draw's not helping them much.
No.
Denmark is winning. Denmark is quite confident in their victory at this point. Australia is projecting a score around 100 for their team. A confident win for them. Luxembourg is expecting a tie. Belgium is expecting 91, so that would be a comfortable win for them. Scotland projects an 82, which would be a tie with New Zealand. Iceland is looking for a draw. A lot of draw scores apparently over there. Greece is projected to win their matchup. The Netherlands is projecting an 85, which would be the high end of a draw. Norway is expecting a good win at this point into South Africa, which would be a good result for them. The United States is still thinking it looks okay. England is saying that it's a lower side of a draw, and that Josh's game just swung a bit. Although I'm not 100% sure what direction they're saying at the moment.
Well, I can only swing upwards. It's Eldar going second.
And then Croatia is apparently looking for a tie. Although Harpster just cheered, so maybe that just changed a little bit on the table up there. We'll kind of find out. It is still evolving. I was talking to Vic earlier, and he didn't seem like he was having the greatest of times in the Orcs matchup with Thousand Suns, but he also seemed to be pushing back just like a tad bit towards the end of this round based on board state.
Yeah, so the way that game is going is Vic's actually doing very, very well. He predicted somewhat of a draw. I don't necessarily agree with that, but he has tested this matchup a few times. what he is able to do at the moment is he actually has killed over half the orc army. And Vic has last turn to try and get, say, those 15 points in primary at the end. So it's actually kind of a point where the biggest difficulty they're going to have is Vic has 27 minutes to do his last 2 and a bit turns. So I'd imagine he's on to his last 2 turns now and maybe has about 20 minutes. So clocks are more of an issue.
Yeah. Poland says that they're looking at a 95 right now. Polish Chow is going to go 13-7 into Custodes, which we're saying that, well, third, maybe fourth win, somewhere in there. Chow aren't like winning a lot. Yeah, it's the second win for the Polish Chow this event. It's going to be the first Chow player so far, though I haven't dug out all the stats, to win 2 games so far this event. We'll talk about that as a question, kind of a later point again. I personally haven't been impressed with Tao, although when I brought that up to Typhus, he kind of gave me a rough analytical time of it. So we'll see what that means. Polish Necrons are going to go 11-9 against Orcs. So some of the games are tightening a little bit in that matchup. Poland is still looking at a comfortable win in 95 minutes. Canada is apparently confused. Maybe a draw from what I'm reading, I'm reading on the face, from what Typhus is reading on their faces. Kind of waiting to see. As we're at the end of the round, we're going to get a lot of drama as we go. We'll probably get more and more results in over like the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's still 30 minutes left of the round.
Yeah, for USA England, we still don't have 7 games reporting out of 8. For even most of the other ones outside of Poland, we don't have a lot of reports. Although Poland is starting to report more and more of the results right now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a lot of them are still playing.
I get my own microphone. Kind of liking it.
Go this way.
Sweden is saying it currently looks like a win. Typhus is currently running around trying to confirm a bunch of statements, try to get to more concrete information about what's going on.
I think what maybe viewers at home don't realize is he's getting results and opinions from the other side of the hall. I have no idea how he's been able to check Josh's game and then knows what's happening in the Sweden-France game, which is a good 100 meters over the side of the hall.
He's definitely, if I've seen him a couple times, he's managing
running.
to like speed walk / jog while typing into his phone between matches and having conversations with people. He's showing like some premier multitasking.
Oh yeah, it's a good thing I'm not doing that. You get one review every 5 minutes. You have to walk everywhere slow.
I almost ran into a chair while trying to type into my phone earlier today because the chairs are like in and out of pathways at this point.
Yeah.
I almost tripped over a chair and ran into somebody's army, so I was like not having a good day. And I was not trying to do 4 things at the same time. Luxembourg is apparently expecting to lose, which jives with kind of the consistent feeling I was getting from their coaching staff repeatedly. He did crawl under a table at one point. It looked like he was having a bad day. Although that's just for me. He does it for me to let me know how it's going from afar. Belgium is very confident in winning. Looks like we have a bunch of activity in the USA England game. What?
Who's Belgium playing currently?
Italy?
I believe it's Italy, yeah. 1 second.
And then,
Belgium and Italy are playing, yes.
I talked to the coaches for Netherlands and Switzerland, and that kind of looks like a draw, but every time I've asked their ref for anything, he looks like he's about to have a heart attack, so I think he always thinks it's a draw until something goes well.
Typhus is now moving. Shuckman is going to 20 Josh Roberts, apparently, on that table. So that is a 20-0. So it looked like, well, initially we were thinking that some points were going to be scraped away from the U.S. Eldar player. It looks like it will be a 20-0 according to Typhus.
Yeah.
He's currently at the top tables, getting more information. Since the Poland-Spain matchup is kind of decided at this point, I think he's going to focus on getting us coverage of the top tables from the USA England games. So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, again 20-0'd in a prediction where they thought they were going to get a few points. Hurts when you're trying to get a sneaker draw.
And it looks like Jack and Matt Robertson game just ended on the stream table. Maybe Nathan, you can get his eyes and we can get a feel, or you can yell.
Matt, what did you get? 10. So
we have
10-10 GK versus Nids for...
Some on-the-spot reporting as the game ends.
Yeah.
Jack appears happy with that result. Happy with result. You can just come over. Why not? Yeah, come on. It's the original Adepticon site. Don't you dare. No, that only Nas can take you. You put that. I'm kidding. Hi, Jack.
Hi.
Come on, get closer. We're going to have to squeeze some people in. We are on camera.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah. You can unruffle yourself. It's fine.
Hi.
We're going to move this closer so you guys can talk
Yeah.
into microphones. It'd be great.
Exciting.
So obviously, you guys had a terrible game.
Yeah.
You don't
hate
like
this
each
guy.
other at all.
Hate
100%.
each other.
So introduce yourselves so that we know who you are.
Hi, my name's Jack.
I'm Matt Robertson.
Robbo.
As I'm most commonly known. No one calls me Matt,
So we'll start with
apart
Jack.
from my mum.
Were you excited when you got a pairing for in Toronto?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I predicted draw.
Yeah, we've never played before either,
No.
so it's good.
What did you predict?
Maybe like 11, 12 potentially.
Okay. Yeah, I see why you think that. Like, the early turns were real annoying. Your secondaries were really good.
Oh,
So, like, I
let's
get it.
let's hear some more about it. Why would you think that an 11-9 is 10 or a 12-8 is a good prediction for that?
So he has enough shooting that me holding objectives when every objective is in the open, good table choice,
Yeah.
by the way, is really
Chose.
annoying. What's that?
It's the leftover.
Yeah, but you chose
Yeah.
the second one, the last one. There was one where every objective was behind terrain. That one would have been dope.
No.
No, that would have been great. That's probably a 12 for me, maybe a 13.
Yeah, because I can't get him and he just sits and goes. And go.
Yep.
Just-
And if I'm on an objective, if he wants to walk onto that objective, I can start doing things.
yeah.
But he picked a good board for it, and then he's able to point guns in every direction and be like, all right, you want to stay on an objective? And early, the answer is no.
Yeah. It's like turn 2, was it? I basically went, here's enough firepower to kill this unit twice. Do you want to stay there?
I was like, no, I don't. I had to use Sigil early, which I didn't love,
Yeah.
but I had Bond Return, which ended up being decent. If I'd gone first, I would have been able to keep Sigil until later in the game.
Yeah.
Because I would be able to move up. I wouldn't get zoned out. I'd be able to threaten objectives without immediately gating my my unit over and clearing a bunch of units.
So what does Sigil do in this matchup?
Sigil usually just burns an enemy turn. Right? They don't want to move up because then you get to port out and then keep Sigil. So they don't want to do that. So they stand still, and then they shoot at you, and then you bounce. So you basically tax them a movement and a shooting phase for 35 points.
Yeah.
Bravo, how are you feeling when you got to pull Sigil out early?
That was good. Getting it out early, so I knew I had to overload that space to force it. So if I just put a few things, you can go, okay, I'll lose 4 or 5 guys here, but I
Some
want my
Sigil,
trick still,
some
bring a guy back,
guns.
have the objective still. So that's why I had to go with the extra zone front unit on, bring it round, but still not give anything easy away. So it was a bit like, okay, I need to bring everything here, but then I need the next screen, so when it does go, to not just get the important units in the return.
You don't have any questions? You're just
No,
you're just gonna be
I
excited.
know I'm starstruck too, or something.
You
I don't
both
know.
apparently
What's
starstruck
going
my
on?
co-host.
So-
He doesn't know what to say anymore.
Yeah.
Is this
I
not
actually,
the karaoke doing this?
He's gonna want an autograph later.
also, I've already heard stories, right?
Just tired, man. How about you?
Yeah, like, for those who don't come to this kind of event, it's 7 rounds, which you get 7-round events. When you have the heat, the extra pressure, you're staying up late every night to do your matrix the next morning,
No games end early.
you finish your rounds, then you okay, right now we need to get some food, now to the next pairing. it's a lot of endurance involved as well, which can be a bit deceptive if it's like your first year here and you've not been before. So yeah, I think everybody is very tired, and it's great. Like I was so happy to play Jack and go, cool. Are we playing a very strict to the point da game, or are we going to help each other be chill? Oh, actually, you need to repair slightly. And those are the best kind of games. Like competitive 40k isn't when it all costs. Like I played the French yesterday, absolutely amazing games. Again, everyone I've played has been fantastic and played in the right spirit. And it's the WTC in the past, 7-8 years ago, wasn't. But then a lot of work's gone in to make it one of the best sporting events of the year. So
They'll
it's
enforce
good
sportsmanship
setup.
here too. If you're not a good sport, it's not just like oh, what can I do? They'll do some things.
Yeah, you can get yellow carded for being unsporting, like straight up.
Yeah.
And it makes the scene so much better. Hopefully that spreads from other countries back home. That ethos, because the game would just be a better place for everyone.
So you would say that like really one of the core components of the WTC is like good sportsmanship and good play from opponents that you've had so far.
Yeah, there's very few gotchas. Obviously, with the edition being new, there's going to be things people don't know and could get caught out with and go, oh, I didn't know that. Cool. Might cost me a few points, but it's not anything like, aha, now I can do this.
There's not a lot of unveiling trap cards that people are doing. Like,
No.
Not anymore. I mean, I've only been last year and this year, but I've heard the stories of just absolute cutthroatery. But the WTC as opposed to the ETC is way better. Way better.
The French guy I played just today with Black Templars, which is a scary combat list.
Yeah, there's a million dudes. If you don't kill them, they'll kill you.
He has his army list, and on the back is what can advance and charge, what can fall back and charge, what can advance and shoot. Like a little cheat sheet, and start the game goes, here's my army, here's the tricks. That's yours for the game.
Yeah, because if you feel like you need that stuff, like, come on. If you need to trick people, if you need to, like, for example, every time my opponents have shot at Sigil unit that can teleport, there are plenty of times when it could just be like, oh, and I'm over here in the game ends.
Yeah.
But tell people ahead of time, I will warn you before you shoot at Sigil unit. And I do. And if they still want to go through with it, they still do.
Yeah.
Because I don't, like, need to gotcha with Sigil to get value out of it.
It's winning the game on the table, not off the table. That's why I say
that's kind of like the best thing that you want to hear
Yeah.
about an event, is that two people aren't trying to like shove secrets or like hide cards or anything like that, or try to like, you know, trick people off the table with any kind of shenaniganry.
Yeah. It's like in our game, well, I was like, cool, I need to screen 3 inches everywhere. I'm just going to sit and go, cool, I'm going to move this unit here. I have this bit screened. Then the next bit, have the discussion with opponents, because if you don't have the discussion and leave a gap, that's on you. You have that discussion and go, actually, no, I can fit here. You move it.
That happened a couple times in our game where it's like, I think you need to move that guy a little over, and then like I never even checked. Like, once we made sure you were screened, I never like took my Terminators over. It was like, oh.
There's a difference. I think a lot of people say play by intent, but you don't know your opponent's intent unless you have the discussion.
Yeah.
Which is key. Discussions.
One last question for Jack. You got surrounded by captains. How did you feel about getting surrounded by captains? About, what was that, midway through day one or partway through day two?
No, that was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
And time is.
I was playing German.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. That was a lot of fun. You know, it's great meeting people here. Like I met a bunch of people last year I hadn't met before because I'm in the U.S. I met a bunch of new cool people, and then poke a bit of fun, had a good time. Yeah. Awesome. I loved it. It was great.
Excellent.
So I do actually have a question for you guys, as both of you are not playing an army that would be like a top pick. It's not. None of those armies are armies that are repeatedly in the teams here. So starting with the infamous Grey Knights list, how is it working out for you guys? Does it work well in pairings? Does it then bring the points you estimate for it?
It's been good in pairing so far. It has never lost this. It hasn't lost this event so far. It's drawn twice. It drew Denmark's Captain's Custodies, and it just drew this guy right here. Otherwise, I think it's been like an 11-11 or 11-12-13 or something like that. It's been pretty good. It's a good teams list. It's good at mitigating some very strong lists. And there are some armies that really hate playing into it. So I've been enjoying it. It's also fun as hell. And it gives plenty of opportunity for your opponents to mess up in pairings.
Yeah.
To assume something beats it when it doesn't, to assume something loses to it when it doesn't, and just make odd pairings happen throughout the matrix.
When we were prepping for this event, we looked at Jack's list and went, okay, we can't all get a game into that list because there's one of that list at the event. It's kind of not the best use of time. We put it on the table when there were a few of us together. I'm like, okay, yep, we get a general idea. But like, I'd seen bits of a game with it and knew the general way it plays. But when it's one so unique, you can't practice it that much because you may not play it and you're wasting time into the armies that are everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's a good advantage of having something more unique as well.
For other people, it's one list at the event. They're unlikely to play it. But I am guaranteed to play 7 people. So for the opposition, it's not worth it to practice the list. So then I just get to be like, sweet, all 7 of my games are in people who haven't play tested my army.
Yeah, so it gives you an edge. And also, it's a bit of a tech piece, so even if someone does test it, they might not get the idea of how you'd want to pilot that list. So that's probably an edge as well. There's
also a very thin margin between I sit back and do nothing the whole game, and suddenly you're in combat with 30 Terminators because I go Rapid Ingress, Drago. And so you got to watch out for that.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about a lot. So I need to scream just to not get that here. If I'm in that corner, I'm screwed.
If you give me too many charges where I tag something else, you fall back, I miss it out, rapid somewhere else, and you just get like pinched into a corner.
So, Robo, in the Tyranids faction, there's a little bit more competition of getting a top 1 faction.
Oh, yeah.
Individual score. So, how are Tyranids working out for you guys?
They're good. We played a lot of test games with them. We kind of had them, and then we switched off them, back on them, back off them again. And it's only like an hour for this mission. We actually put them back in. We just need something that has tricks, has secondaries, has some punch. There's enough guns that scares people. There's enough units to play the mission. You have score mines, which I love the name of those.
Yeah, score mines.
Score mines. The little brain. Oh, score mines. I like that.
That's a new hashtag.
I'm really kind of confused how brainless little bombs are like doing mission objectives and stuff like that. It's kind of great.
Yeah, we were very unsure if that would get hit before the event. But I kind of found because they give up points as well for things, it's a little bit. Okay, they're still very good, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them change. But if they could still deep strike and stop advance and charge, etc., within 6, because you can't end or start advance within 6 inches. Even if they couldn't score, I think it's still an argument for 1 Bible. However, with the new book and new models out in maybe a month-ish, September-ish, I'm not sure. I think they'll just be reworked anyway, so it's probably a very short window of madness.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you both of you for coming over on such
absolutely
random
Thanks for having
us. Nice to meet you. See you soon, buddy.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Good to meet
you. Likewise.
I'm beeping so much.
So, stats, Paps. Have we got any scores updates? We've been talking for quite a moment. It was a very insightful interview, but we need to report on the scores for you guys.
So the draw is confirmed, basically, for the England-USA game at the moment. They're waiting for a couple matchups to wrap up. There's kind of like a lot of tumultuous information coming in, so I'm going to hold off on some of it because Typhus has given me like several updates that have kind of swung all over the map.
Yeah.
And Nathan's going to also come back in just a second. He and Joker will share, or we can share. I don't really care anymore. I know that the Polish Custodes are going to take it to the Spanish Marines 13-7. Poland currently has 71 points with 2 winning games still ongoing. So that feels fairly certain, although we are kind of getting information that we're looking at maybe closer to a 90 instead of like the original higher score of like an 100 that the Polish team was kind of reporting. Germany apparently needs 9 points from the last game and is predicting a very narrow win now. So instead of a draw into Canada, they're looking at a narrow win into Canada. I believe that's their opponent. I hope it is, and I'm not getting that terribly wrong. And then Sweden has 68 with 3 games going still and is expecting a comfortable win. Typhus is obviously keeping a very close eye on the United States-England game, so as soon as we have an update, although Nathan might also have an update for us a little bit about how some of those games are going.
Yeah, so we've had a couple of upswings and then one kind of like very Eldar-related downswing. What happened in Josh's game is he had a full Warden brick that popped Feel No Pain, which would have been able to take an extra 15 points in primary of the last kind of 2 turns. And he has another unit to then charge something to do a card. Instead, the Eldar player got 4 shots, rolled 3 6s to wound, turned the last one to a 6 with fate dice, and then proceeded to roll something in the region of 35 mortal wounds because Eldar exist, and the Wardens went poof. So yeah, that sucks. So instead of it's not going to swing it back massively in the other way, but that might have got an extra 3 points possibly for Josh. And so getting that 20-0 there has helped USA quite a lot. We've had 2 results in so far, being 2 10-10s.
And then the result from Josh has come in as well.
And then, yeah, I'm trying not to talk about that one.
So you're looking at 40 to 20 right now, but...
We've got a small win from Manny, but he's drawn pretty bad cards in the last turn, so it might end up being like 11 or 12.
They're currently saying a 12, yeah.
12, yeah, that sounds about right. And what else we got? Alex is actually into GSE, channeled his inner Stark, and managed to get somehow is like almost 20 points up against GSE going into
so
the last
like a
round.
16,
it's like a
14 rather.
13-7.
Yeah.
The American player is going to have PTSD into guard.
Yeah, that's what it really
He's
is.
going to stop putting him into
case.
guard now, yeah.
Yeah.
But that might, I think the GSC has last turn, so presumably that might end up being another 10-10.
Our current prediction update is an 83-86, which is at, or 83 to 86 for England, rather, is what
86 is a
there.
win, though, so
Yes.
Josh will be gutted that he didn't get some extra points, as will Mike for not making 2 pretty easy charges. The CSM game has started to heavily go in our favour, or England's favour, and Vic has played his socks off and is looking like a 15 or 16 against Orcs.
Yep, that was kind of that's the flip of the round, really, essentially.
Yes.
It's a big surprise.
Although a 15 to 16, I think in that
There's a
matchup
hug.
takes it closer to the 83
Yeah, that's fine.
end of the prediction. 20 people are apparently surrounding the last Canada to Germany game. That's
Yeah,
probably
like,
both
people
teams,
do that?
referees, and coaching staff. I mean, it's even right now, right, with some of the American games that are going on.
Oh,
They're
that's just the massive amount of England and
and
England and American coaches just actually being all around the table.
New Zealand, Scotland.
okay.
New Zealand, Scotland.
So Germany gets 16-4 on that last game. They needed 9 points, so I think
Germany
they will
win.
win that. We're going to go to New Zealand and
Nice.
Scotland as soon as we can. We do hear some cheering from that corner, probably from the German team. Probably very excited. It looks like Eric actually of the Gene Stealer Cult, Astra Militarum. That's Forsman into Harrison is an 11-9 for the Gene Stealer Cult that just came in.
Okay, nice.
I'm going to go find the New Zealand-Scotland game. You're going to just have to give me a second. Because Typhus is also messaging me at the same time and trying to break my soul with updates. UN 1, that's Malta, is going to beat Czechia.
It's impressive from any UN team.
Ireland is beating Portugal. Waiting. Where did you go, man? I'm just gonna control F real quick. New Zealand and Scotland has a 20-0 reported for Chaos Space Marines into Eldar for Scotland. We're waiting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games from that matchup. Eldar, on the other hand, for New Zealand, only getting a 16-4 into Thousand Suns. So
That's okay.
it's fine, but not like ideal when your opponent's Eldar is gonna beats the brakes off of your CSM player.
Yeah,
I suppose.
I mean, from what I can see, it looks like Scotland paired the Eldar player better.
Yeah.
So
Brian
they were
got
going
20.
to CSM, whilst the New Zealand player was playing Thousand Suns, which might have some play into Eldar at times.
They do.
So
France is saying it needs a 17 for a draw, but Typhus is saying it's not going to happen. So we
how many
probably are going
tables
to
are
see
there
a
left?
loss.
If it's one, then it's rough.
It's one. It's real bad.
Yeah.
Two, it's a little
Student,
better.
maybe.
Yeah, so 17 is rough to need that from, and games that are going down to the wire probably aren't going to be like those can be anywhere, but if they're not confident about it, it sounds like those are wins for their opponent right now.
Yeah.
Italy versus Belgium still looks like Belgium is going to win that based on the fact that they have a 20 in the rest and a 19 and the rest of the scores are pretty close. I'm going to hit refresh, see if we get anything else in. There are coaches everywhere holding heads, kind of like running around chit-chatting on the back end over there.
No England results.
CSM into Jaime. The CSM are going to win 17-3.
Nice.
That's
really
a
good.
solid,
big
solid score.
Vic is going to win 17-3 into Orcs.
That's
So we
also
are closing
very good.
in on
That closes in on the draw.
that
then.
closes the gap to a draw, basically.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to see a draw based on we're kind of waiting essentially on Sean, Naden, and Lennon's game into Manny.
That looks like a 12-8. I think Manny's.
Which is essentially
Yeah.
going to pull the difference from the 20-0 that Eldar got.
Sure.
So we're probably going to see a draw.
To be honest, I think England would be happy with a draw in that round. Unfortunately, it would put them in the path of having to play Poland next.
And they would have to win
They would
that
have
game.
to beat Poland to guarantee a podium with an outside chance of a win if USA
Lost.
or drew. Then it would be
I'm also
points.
going to say that Typhus is going to say that people can't project for shit.
Sure,
Which is probably part of the reason why we're getting like ups and downs on a lot of this stuff. Because Poland is now going to win 101-59.
which is a stamp.
We went to
Signed, sealed,
95
delivered.
to 90 to maybe it's closer to an 101.
Yeah, and
But-
that potentially could be enough points to outscore the US if they grab a narrow win here.
Yeah, Poland will be considerably ahead. Because, say, for example, it's an 80-80. That puts them up 21 points, which actually puts them, I think, about 8 points ahead of USA.
And
It's
England,
13 going into the
English coaches are saying it's a draw. I just saw Typhus over with several of them. So if we're projecting, we're gonna have to teach people how to project. Not really though. I'm gonna tell you that projecting things in a game with as much variation built into it as 40K is very challenging.
Especially in this edition, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
So-
when you have random cards.
because the cards are random. If we were all playing fixed, like in 9th edition, I'd say the projections would be easier. But you just don't know. You're playing a dice game and a card game together,
Yes.
and like the dice aspect of it to the card aspect of it means that there's so much variation. Everybody is essentially standing around Manny and John Lennon's table right now.
Yeah, there's only 2 results to come in.
Yeah, we're essentially waiting on Sean Naden versus Nassim and Manny versus John at this
Lennon.
point. Although Sean and Nassim's game is probably tying up pretty soon. There's 6 minutes on the clock.
So we'll probably have some more involvement
Looks
of
like
the judges
7 points for Lennon.
shortly.
Okay, that's in line
good
with
for Manny.
projections.
And what's your take on the Tyranids versus the Space Marine game? That's still left. We haven't heard much from there.
Sean should win that from initial predictions, but it seems like they've kind of stood off each other. But I believe Sean should be ahead reasonable amount of primary. If he's ahead on primary, you would expect him to be ahead on cards. Sorry, I'm just working out some of the scores that we do have.
You're currently at a 67 for England. Is that what it is?
I'm missing.
So it's a tie.
So we've got a tie
Ooh.
plus whatever Nassim gets. But Nassim's probably not getting a 10-10. So it looks like a draw,
So we're basically
which I'd 100% have taken that after the Matrix. The
Yes.
pairings.
Manny's going to get a 13-7.
Sure.
So we're essentially just waiting on Naden's game to end now.
So that does mean that Poland will be playing England in the last round.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. And then USA will be playing Sweden.
Yep.
Assuming Sweden wins. I don't know if that's been
Yes.
confirmed yet.
I will refresh and see. They were pretty confident in their win before, but you never know. Like, folks, we don't know how to predict anything anymore. I've given up.
As they have shown.
Sweden versus
Manny
France
got a 13.
should be a win. What?
Manny got a 13.
Yeah, we got it. USA has 64 confirmed with Sean's game left.
Yeah.
They should score at least 11 on that, unless something weird happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it looks like they're winning that table. Maybe we'll see another 80-80 perfect split.
Possibly. I think some of the England guys, even though they were looking like losses, will be a little bit gutted that Mike couldn't push his score higher. Josh couldn't get any points out of his game. Where, you know what? Because even the USA Eldar Army agreed that should have been 13-7 because Josh had the ability to hide. So that Josh might be gutted now that maybe they actually didn't get the win here.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
I think
taking a draw before the matchup.
I think you have to appreciate the more lucky bits
Yeah,
that
sure.
you got swung in your way, like Vic winning the Orc game, getting 17. Then there was another 17 that the Chaos Space
Space
Marine one
Marines, yeah.
that not necessarily predicted like that.
Sure.
Score prediction from Typus for the Nassim Sean Nathan game is a 14-6 for Sean. Which
Nassim gets a 6 then.
That's a pretty respectable result as well from Death Watch into that tier nits list.
So that's 82-78.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that. So very close.
Very close.
US Metasoft.
It's a draw, so nobody gets anything.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else? Yeah, Nassim predicted to get 6 from his games and his game into Naden. Unless, I guess, something wild and crazy happens in the last minute.
One thing that's quite interesting to watch is there were 20 people around Manny and John's table.
They
And
all
now
moved.
They've all
The
moved.
herd has migrated over to the last table.
Yep.
And now there's 20 or 30 people around that table.
We can also already see a couple of the judges very close to it
Sure.
as we're running out of time for the round. I think
Yeah, we
there's
are-
literally a minute left, or not even that.
2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Now 2 minutes.
So the point at which now is make sure nobody clocks out, nobody has any issues. That's kind of where that is.
But Vic really pulling the switch on that Orcs matchup is a pretty big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because that was probably the hinge point for a small win for the USA to a draw in this situation. And that's kind of the biggest flip of the round.
Yes. Vic's played that game 3 times and clearly had it down. He had it down as 11 in his pairings. I didn't agree with that, but what do I know?
We know
Vic's-
nothing is what we've been
Vic's
told
been
repeatedly.
phenomenal this weekend so far. He's been the best new addition. And I think what's helped is, yes, it only ended up being a draw, not a win, but actually the people that carried that round in the most difficult face-off is our 3 new players.
Yep.
So that's really, really encouraging.
Yeah, the biggest scores basically are Chris, Vic, and then those are the big ones, the big
Yes.
swings, right?
Yeah. And then Naz getting
Now this is
hopefully
pulling points. Somebody is throwing stuff. Shuckman, I saw the scorecard very briefly for that Shuckman and Roberts game. It was like 1-20, basically.
So we got any of the other games coming in? I mean, outside of England versus USA, any final
Yes.
scores
Oh,
confirmed?
yeah, there's other teams.
No. No, I refuse. I'm kidding. I'm going to pull up more scores in just a second. I think we are going to get the final score from this team. Sean Naaman game in just a second, as they just hugged. Croatia appears to be beating Cyprus. Cyprus is winning a couple games, though, in that matchup. They won an Eldar into Chaos Demons, and Loyalist Astartes into Chaos Space Marines, and an Imperial Knights into Chaos Knights matchup. So actually, it might be closer than I thought. I saw the first 3 20s and assumed it might have been something different. 84-76 for the USA-England game. So almost a loss, but just barely a draw.
2 more points.
They could have won that. They could have won
Yeah.
Yep.
You could just see a moment ago Nathan slowly his body a little bit.
Canada is going to lose to Germany 67-93, which is probably pretty soul-crushing for Canada. They've kind of had an uneven tournament, but probably kind of redeeming for Germany after a very close loss to the United States, and then kind of a little bit of a wobble in their next matchup, essentially.
Yeah, they're now back in the fight for top 5 spot, maybe.
Yeah, 4 wins, 2 draws. Another win, 5 wins puts them pretty comfortably, I would say, in a top 5 position, but it is so tight.
Yeah, there's been a lot of draws generally, so it's hard to count where each team actually is. It's not so simple this time round. But yeah, kind of swings and roundabouts for Canada along the way in this round, and in the end, they did lose.
Sweden is going to win by 2.
Nice.
Looking at hopefully, provided I did arithmetic correctly, and my brain is very smooth at the moment, so I might not have done that.
So they did kind of take the position of the dark horse in the Swiss phase. Despite losing to Poland in Game 4, they're now pushing for it real hard. It will be very interesting to see which team Sweden pairs into now, which might be the US.
They're
Should
going
be
to
the
pair
USA,
into the
yeah.
United States.
And how they can manage to play into that team and where they end up.
71, 81. Norway should beat South Africa. They're just waiting for their Gene Stealer Colts matchup. They need 5 points from that Gene Stealer Colt matchup to win. Should be able to do that for Gene Stealer Colts into Imperial Knights, but you never know. Ireland beat Portugal 86-74. Australia won over Austria 103-57. I even got that right, which I'm very proud of. It's the little things in life, guys.
Yeah.
Denmark is going to beat Slovakia 104-56. Latvia is beating Israel 94-66. Netherlands has won against Switzerland 91-69.
Nice.
New Zealand and Scotland are still up, but I'm going to try to add up some stuff real quick. 46.
Life mathematics. Nothing
You
more
totally threw
interesting
me
than
off.
that.
You threw me off my groove. 34, 46.
Cyphers update.
Stop. 64, 74, 70. They need 7 points out of Ben to win, basically. So that's
Very
a
close
squeaker. And that's guard into Necron. So it's very close to a draw, though. 7 or 8 points is kind of what they're looking for out of that one. Italy into Belgium. Looks Belgium favored. They have one still out. Romania into Luxembourg. Looks very Romania favored. Finland loses to Greece 73-87, which is a struggle for Finland, I suppose. Iceland and Northern Ireland, I don't have any scores in. Oh, wait, just one, 16-4 for Northern Ireland. Wales beat Bulgaria 93-67.
Nice.
And that's it so far for things that are in. We'll see if I can get confirmation on scores real quick from anything else. Yep, 76-84 draw. England and United States is confirmed and in the books. USA is being called over to take photos. Confirmed, Sweden wins over France 93-67.
Okay, so we've got our top 2 tables set up pretty much for the next
Poland
round.
against England, Sweden against the United States in the next round. That's kind of going to decide both our winner and our podium, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poland's now in the driving seat.
Yeah,
If
they just
they
need to
win,
not
they
lose,
don't care about
basically.
anything else.
There is
Although
a
points are a little bit.
situation where if USA beats Sweden and England and Poland draw,
Then
it'll then be probably USA, Poland, England.
Now I'm going to go
Yeah.
give something to Nassim, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, but Poland's currently the leader on the big points.
Yes, 1
and
point ahead, yeah.
not as many.
Sorry, England and USA just shouted Aussie meta soft. So
Yep. So they decided to team up into another
Somehow, yeah.
English-speaking continent, even.
Another hashtag.
Yeah.
but no, that's a good result for England. I think before the round, if you just said, do you want to take a draw? I think England would have been happy with that. Obviously,
It's
a bit gutted that I feel like Mike and Josh could have got more points. But then again, the Orcs in the CSM, so the Orcs in the Death Watch for USA maybe felt they should have got more points.
yeah.
And
You got to take the good with the bad.
exactly, yeah. That is unfortunately how the rounds go. Dice are dice, cards are cards. But yeah,
Having said that, though, we've had 2 games of USA into Poland, now England,
yes.
and in both of those, they seem to have the upper hand in pairings, and then both Poland and
So-called
England,
player skill
pulling out
hasn't been
draws.
there. Yeah.
Definitely does. I think that's the takeaway we have from this.
And it was like the small asterisks we did put over them before the event. How a lot of them are new guys. How good will they be dealing with European metas? How good are they going to be? Sorry, Sweden's shouting. England again. Yeah, they've obviously still done extremely, extremely well. Their big players have carried them quite far away. Sean Naden's done spectacular so far this week. I think did he get 12-8 in that last one? Must be. But yeah, there is a chink in the armor that people can go and get. So if Sweden keep going the way they are, they could finish on. They could give it to the USA.
Yeah, definitely. They can cause another upset.
They're on the same points, which actually Sweden could be out if England and Poland draws. Then Sweden could leapfrog. I think Sweden's points are too far behind to be able to
score
catch.
a lot in the pot phase.
They did, but Poland scored a lot in the pod phase and then have a couple of 100 pluses against Sweden and against Spain, whereas Sweden just beat Germany, just beat France.
Yeah, okay.
So I would expect their countback is to be lower, which would then mean that Poland, even on draw, would probably win, and England probably second. Everybody finishes on the same points.
Well, if Poland draws, then it's dependent on the USA.
Sweden.
So
Poland will want to take that opportunity away from everybody and just go, you know what, beat England.
Yep, and run away with it.
Can you actually get that? You want me to get the seat?
Right, so I think we're gonna hope to get some of the guys for an interview.
Sweden, France, hopefully.
We'll see. Though I think now we're gonna get Nas from Team England and someone from or not.
Can you get somebody from Sweden, France? Oh, he hasn't eaten.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sure.
They haven't passed around enough of an idiot today, so.
Yeah. Oh, let's see.
Okay.
Where we are with New Zealand and Scotland. I don't know if we've had that actual result in yet. Bear with me.
Okay, so we are going to get coaches from USA and England on an interview after all. And then Typhus can go get someone from Sweden.
Tylko
France?
przysuńcie ich blisko do stołu.
Scotland have beaten New Zealand 91 to 69.
Scotland's won. Yeah. All right.
So if the sound volumes are bad, this is the left mic, this is the right mic, like from our perspective. Obviously,
So welcome.
and it's
Right, the way we're going to
louder,
do this is
zero,
we'll
quiet.
let you introduce yourselves and then we can talk about the game in general. So starting with you and point the mic once speaking.
Yeah, how you doing? My name's Josh. One of the coaches for Team USA.
Close.
And I'm Jack, one of the coaches for Team England. Not Brian Jones.
Right, so very tight game. How you guys feeling about it? I mean, Josh, it looked like you had it in pairings. So did any of the tables go wrong, or was any of the estimations off?
Yeah, I think pairings were pretty satisfied. I know England had a very good list composition. We spent a lot of time last night looking at what we called the darkest timelines, right, and making sure we didn't wind up in those. I think England, I'm sure, did the same, making sure. So we both did a good job of protecting what our pairings would be. So we have upsides and then relative draws. And in the games, it came to where we could push and try and get more, and then where it would stabilize. There were a couple interesting swings. I think we could have got a little bit more with the NIDS. But yeah, it was just some amazing games. Dice rolls, kind of pushed in a couple ways. But yeah, it was a great round.
Yep, it was super tough, and you're right about there was some interesting swings. I think especially maybe with the GSC game, there was a couple of charges, re-rolled up charges that short distance that didn't come off, and they would have made the difference between a lot of points, getting like CSM Terminators and stuff, and it ended up a draw, and that was like the first result came in. We're like, okay, this is the way the round's going. But some interesting. Nassim did well to get 7 points out of the NIDS as well. We thought Sean's come in really hot into this tournament already out of the pod and into the last 2 rounds yesterday. It was like, this is going to be, he's on a killer list. He's been killing a lot of opponents, so that's going to be a really hard match for Nassim, and for him to bring out 7 points in the end out of that matchup was big for us, really big for us.
Yeah, there was one, I think, critical 9-inch charge on the space bridge over here that Jaime that took a lot of points off the table too. It was there's a lot of things with the mission, going second, getting good board presence towards the end of the game. It was really tight. It was really fun.
I think that's of this edition as well. And we had it in the previous round versus France, that you might see yourself in a winning position or a losing position, and then one player draws some nice cards, and there's like a 1-2 point swing in their game, and that just and it affects the. You start getting the rumors around. You hear it, the morale. You're like, oh my god, it suddenly shifted into a draw category or into a loss category, or win category, and we're just like. Especially in this edition with the randomness of the cards and stuff like that, and for whoever gets first, second, especially in this mission, you get second, you get that primary at the end. It really is on edge. I think these tight games, really tight.
Yeah, I think it was Manny and Jack's game in the last round. They really didn't draw any cards that they could really do. I think Jack got one he could do, and then before Manny was having issues, so the cards kind of slowed the pace down, which kind of locked in that score.
Yeah. I think Johnny had halfway through the game was like, there's a chance where I push now or I don't push, and it was like a really big gamble. I think he took like 5-10 minutes on the clock just to see with the coaches where you guys thought you was at and where we thought. And we were like, I don't know, because obviously if he pushes and he starts getting at that, obviously we were like, what's he going to do? That's really going to, because all through the round we were expecting it to be super tight to maybe a small win, maybe a draw, maybe a small loss. It could really have gone one of 3 ways, right? One of 3 ways.
Right. I think you guys thought you were a little bit low at the start. We thought we were a little bit higher. Yep. And then I think we switched spots, and then we were like, oh no, we're lower. And then it started to come back together, and we were just hoping by the end we'd kind of it was quite the roller coaster.
2 points off in the end as well. It's like, but it was a really quality round. There was a great spirit. I think we had 7 coaches each, right? So we're all around the tables, and it's just like trying not to crowd one table with like 3 coaches on each side. But I think all the coaches were in good spirits. All the players played in good spirits as well. It was a really nice round.
Yeah, we may have to have some grudge matches on the side between the coaches the next time we play. But it was good. Yeah, it was great sportsmanship across. I don't think we had any issues. It was awesome. Awesome times.
No, not at all.
So, how did you guys support the players during that round? And was there a moment that either of you had to tell some players to push, looking at scores coming in, or were both of you more like looking with your teams, looking more towards stable play for a safe amount of points?
I think we come out of the pairings going, if we keep our colours, what we put on the matrix, we should be in a good position. And if we can keep them colours, then we can look towards pushes. And we that's what we've tried to do. The last couple of rounds, we thought we've come out well in the pairings. We said, just need to stick to your colours. Everyone knows their game plan going forward. And you guys had a couple of times where on some of the tables, you had two different things, and you were like saying to your coaches, should I go for number one? Should I go for number? Should I push to two, or what should I do? And we had a similar, like, you've got a little bit of leeway with the points, a little bit, but I think a couple of people overperformed the matrix, and a couple of people went just a bit under, and overall that averages out, right? But we didn't necessarily have to tell someone to take a risk because of the nature of it being so close with a draw. You don't want it to backfire and go into the loss category. I think that was, especially on the Custodial Eldar table in that one, it was like, you guys didn't want to take the risk as well, because if that spirals out of control, you then can risk it. And we had the same on other tables. We don't want to risk it and then lose the round. It was comfortable at the draw at the time, but
yeah, Stephen Corrales and Quentin Johnson did a great job going around and figuring out what the state of the boards were across the multiple tables. We identified 2 push opportunities, right? And we got the Eldar, push that up, crank that up to 11 to that 20. And then we had another opportunity, I think it was with John, that it was kind of a zero risk push where they had great upside, and then it didn't pay off. It's like a 75% chance. Stephen was walking us through it, and it did pay off, but it was zero. It had no effect. So we had a couple gambles we took, but same as you, we didn't want to kind of put ourselves way out of position. Which is interesting in such a close game.
Especially that Eldar list into our custodies we had, and at the point where you started to push, it was like, we just need to hold on to any points in that game. That was one, you're like, can you hold on and get a couple points? Because then a couple points at the end, maybe would have made it. It's
100%.
But in every game, right? Because some games where if they could push from a 17 to a 19, you could have made it. And it happens over the course of 8 games. It's all going to average out.
Right. I think Steve and Quentin have done an amazing job of understanding where the teams are on the tables, managing some of those emotions and egos, right? And then figuring out where we can take risk, where we can't push it. Because if they don't identify that opportunity with the Eldar and push, I think you guys win. Because if he gets a 17 instead of a 20, and we don't get that push, don't let him know on time. That's the game.
That's the game. Right. And then the same, we have Adam Lane and Tony doing the same, 2 experienced hands. So having the 2 coaches that are both in charge of that, and that all 4 of them did a really good job of managing the round and managing the players and keeping them under control, whilst everyone else can just keep an eye on the games, make sure everyone's hydrated and make sure everyone's got everything they need. If they need refs and stuff, it frees us guys up to go and do that stuff, because them guys are solely on the score and making sure that the players know what their targets are during the round.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So how are Team US morale now going into the last game?
It's good. I think understandably disappointed. I think we both wanted to come out with a win and keep ourselves, our teams, in that driver's position. Right now, we're looking at Poland in the driver's seat. We both have to do well in our next games and hope that Poland loses. I forget who they're going against.
Us.
England.
Yeah, we have them. Yeah.
So you guys have England.
Yeah, exactly. So you need us to beat them as well, and you also need to win.
Yeah, we need you to beat them, but not by
too much. Exactly, that's it. Not by too much.
87 is good, just a comfortable 1-point margin. And then we need to crush Sweden or Spain, whoever we end up facing here.
Sweden.
Yeah, we'll need to crush them. I think going into this round, we had a 13-point lead. We'll have to take a look at the finals right now, but tiebreakers, I think, will be a big thing, but all dependent on how well you guys do against.
It's now in our hands. I think we have to win. We set ourselves. If we wanted to beat you guys to make it more comfortable going into the final round, but now we're like, we have to win. That's it. There's no, if we want, that's what we have to, and we have to win by that. Just in case, if you guys win as well, we have to try and get the margin as well to catch up because of the differential in the pods. Stuff. But it's all to play for, right? For multiple countries, so that's super exciting. Super exciting.
That was a critical thing too. Like in round 1 and round 2 against those lower potted teams, like you really got to be coming in hard because those points will impact later in the game.
And that's what made Spain difficult for us, because Spain was a really good country, and having that draw coming out the pod, we were like, okay, seeing you guys come out with loads of points out the pod, you're like, it's going to make it tricky. We've got to win out from here now, from here on out. And all to play for, right?
Yeah,
Super exciting.
it's very, very exciting. Lots of draws in general throughout the event. So yeah, the battle points tiebreakers might make quite a difference in the final rankings. Right, guys, thanks very much for coming on. I'll let you back to your teams because there's a lot of preparation you need to do. Get some lunch, etc. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Good luck in you guys' game.
Okay, so I'm
Orkach contra.
going to have Vic on to talk about the Thousand Suns versus Orc game.
Hello, Joker.
Hello, Vic.
Oh, my legs. Hello, everyone.
We're always happy to have you on. So,
Pleasure. Thank you for having
why
me.
don't you tell us about the game? I mean,
Yeah. So I had this game against Lucas, who's probably one of the best Orc players in the world. He's been playing for 12 years. So I know we're not meant to put player skill onto the Matrix, but I did. I consider that, and I thought it's going to be a draw. If I play really well on this mission, maybe I'll get. He got first turn. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not getting the draw anymore. He went forward. He didn't. Mistake that they can do sometimes is war first turn. His advance and charge. I moved forward and I killed a couple of things, and then he just ran at me with his whole army. Now there's I can't all the secrets, but there's quite a few little things you can do with terrain and movement and the positioning of your units to limit the damage against melee units. You can limit the number of attacks you get and also make the sequencing quite hard. He took fixed objectives with Assassinate, so I knew the characters had to be protected. And he went in, killed a moderate amount of stuff on his war turn, but then my army just started chewing one side of his army at a time. And eventually, by the final turn, he just had one corner of the board. So about turn 4, it was going to be a 15+ win for the T-Suns. And then a few little tricks at the end got it up to a 17.
okay, so I have to ask, and I don't know if you had a chance to maybe look at the game that was streamed yesterday at Wargames Live. So Pumba's Thousand Suns into Lucas Hawks.
Yep.
So how are yours and Pumba's lists different, and does it improve the matchup into Orcs?
So there's two main differences. One is related to the number of models and units, and 2 is related to the type of characters that have been taken. So the number of models and units, me and Pumba actually have a very similar style of list. There's no Terminators in both lists. But he has 2 units of big Rubric squads. This is not the game where you want big units of Rubric squads, because a 5-man can kill an entire unit of 10 Orcs anyway. If you have 10, you have too many models, and when they die, you're losing too many resources. You're much better off going wide. The second one is the Thousand Suns Sorcerers, which Pumba has, lets you not be shot outside 18. It's a very powerful rule, but I opted to take Infernal Masters instead. And the big difference between the two is the Sorcerer's Strength 5 and the Infernal Master's Strength 6. In the Orc game, that's essentially +1 to wound in a lot of places. So the output's much higher in this particular matchup in my list. Otherwise, there's going to be some games where Pumba's list does better, especially against gun lines. But against a melee army like this with T5 across the board, the Infernal Masters are great.
Definitely. So did the table choice come into play as well?
Yeah.
Or-
About half the tables in this mission don't allow you to hold the objective from inside the ruin. Some of them let you hold it just from the side. The one I picked, because I was the first defender, was you just cannot hold an objective unless you're in the open. So I went for that because I thought if there is a chance to push a differential, it's going to be on a board like that. And maybe the team would need me to do that at some point.
Okay. So it's amazing listening to how well prepared you are for these games. So that's completely great. How's your morale now going into Poland?
My morale's good. I'm obviously a little bit upset that we drew this round because I thought I went up quite a lot on the prediction, but it's hard because you don't know what's going on behind you.
Yeah.
So I thought that's it. The round is done now. There's no way we're going to lose more than that many points from the other players. But a few swings here and there. The meta's tough. Eldar can just absolutely swing a game. That's what happened in this round. So morale's a little bit mixed, I think, but we'll try our best against Poland. I don't think we're playing for the win realistically now. So let's just try our best.
So you'd need Sweden to beat USA, but not much.
If Sweden
I think.
draw or beat USA, I will be so happy. Because as much as I love the USA players, I could not stand USA having won the WTC and their meta being the best. So
Okay.
that's my take.
That's fair. That's fair. Right, Vic. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Cheers, bro. Thank you. See you guys.
Right, so we're now going into the final round. It will be super exciting considering how the placings have folded out. I won't make this any longer because we'll be back real soon. So thanks for joining in and join us now at the time according to the schedule. I don't know what it was because it changed along the way.
2 o'clock. O drugiej. 2 o'clock!
Oh, 2 o'clock. That's Central European summertime. Just turn me off now.
Okay.